When you're busy and you have creative ambitions like making art, music, writing stories, every moment you have to spend on that creative pursuit is really precious. But there are hidden traps that waste your time and stop you from reaching your creative goals, and I'm going to tell you about one of the worst ones in this video. My name is Gian. I'm a creator with a full-time job helping busy people unlock their creative potential and follow their creative dreams. One of the most threatening obstacles to your creative dreams isn't the really obvious distracting stuff like scrolling through Reddit for 4 hours instead of working on that film script. It's the sneaky stuff that feels good and feels productive, but in reality isn't really helping you and is just wasting your time. I'm going to walk through an example of how to effectively avoid this so that you don't waste your time. The hidden trap I'm going to talk about is researching, planning, and watching tutorials instead of just trying it out when trying to create something. And let me explain why. When starting a creative project, let's say you want to start a YouTube channel, the first thing we want to do is to research and plan. And this is an obvious first step. Get some info, reduce some uncertainty so that I can go faster. And this is where the trap lies. In this example, as you're doing some research, you realize there's actually a lot that goes into making really good YouTube videos. Things like audio, good lighting, good writing, maybe background music, B-roll, all these things that you could be doing to make your videos better. And as you keep going deeper and deeper, you realize, wow, there's actually a lot to learn. Now, instead of, for example, working on that painting or writing that script you've been meaning to write, you've watched 2 hours of tutorials and you're in the same spot that you were before. This is especially bad if you're busy and you already don't have much time for projects in the first place. But it's useful, you might say. And I agree to an extent, but the trap is that its usefulness has its limits. I think this is human psychology. It feels good to reduce uncertainty and have as much information as possible when going into situations. But when it comes to creative work, not having all the answers isn't really that bad. And in reality, it could be a waste of time because you'll never know enough, really, and you won't really know anything until you put yourselves in those situations where you're actually making things. This also happens to be a very dangerous form of procrastination, where you can be researching and planning and do that infinitely and then not actually get any work done. The real challenge lies in pushing yourself to create something. So it can be a creative way to try and avoid that discomfort when creating something by tricking yourself into feeling productive. Some amount of research is helpful, of course, when you're actually getting started and new to something, but if your goal is to learn and grow your skills, there is a limit until you can actually apply that research to real life situations. A good example is sports. You can watch sports, understand the strategy, understand the skills that the players employ, understand the metagame and all that, but it's not really going to help when a 41-year-old dad is dunking on you because they practice every weekend and you just watch tutorials. Same with planning. Planning is useful to an extent, but you can definitely overplan and waste your time trying to think through scenarios that might not even happen. A good amount of planning when you're trying to work on a project or develop your skills is just enough to point you in the right direction, and then you can plan as you're going instead of trying to plan everything at the beginning. An example here is trying to plan and write an epic story with a ton of different characters. You could spend a lifetime planning this epic story and finding infinite things to fix along the way and scenarios to try and plan for before writing it, or you could just start writing something, figure it out along the way, put it out in the world and see what people think. Would you rather be the person that knows things or the person that grows their skills because they can apply it? And it's not really one or the other, but if you are focused too much on planning and research and trying to be set before pursuing actually creating something, you're going to be stuck in the former camp, the person that just knows things. I would much rather be the person that does things and learns things along the way. If your goal is to get good, then the real only way to get good is to practice and execute. Often answers will reveal themselves when you're executing. If you're working through that complicated epic story, you'll know more information as you're executing as opposed to doing everything in the planning stage prior. On top of that, you get the added benefit of developing your creative problem-solving skills. To effectively avoid this trap, I have some tips for you. One is to disconnect the internet when you are working on your projects. So get the information you need, get what you need up, and then just disconnect the internet. I think the internet is the perfect fake productivity procrastination tool because it feels good to research and all that. Having that available is just gonna kill you. Disconnect the internet when you're working. And I think part of this, like a lot of stuff on this channel, is really just a mindset shift. Understanding that 90% of the time, learning and actually producing something good will come from doing that thing. Focusing on execution, doing something, and trying to figure out things along the way is what's gonna help you grow the fastest. And I think knowing that is a natural way to avoid spending too much time over planning and over researching. And another tip is to start small. Avoid the stupid internet rabbit hole where you're trying to gather way too much information by just starting really small. Don't try to make the perfect song with a perfect melody and beat and production and all that. Just focus on maybe just a really good melody, and then you can layer those things on as you're learning along the way. Another thing you can do is just set a time limit if you're planning and researching. Spend a day trying to figure out a general outline for a script, and then the rest of it, you're just working on that script. I think setting a hard time limit will make sure you're not getting stuck down the rabbit hole and not actually practicing and executing. So this is useful advice so you can save some time and have more time focusing on the thing that you actually want to do, which is working on your creative projects. If you want more practical tips on how to make time for your creative work, check out this video. This is where I share the right mindset to have when trying to make more time for your creative work. Bye.